Hi guys, I'm AnimeMixer1, AM1 for short, and you probably already read the title, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Today I'm gonna be telling you what's bad about A Place Further Than the Universe. Though I feel like before the hate comments flood in, I'm gonna have to say it's not a bad anime. I do like it, I don't feel like I wasted my time watching it at all. But it's not as great and inspiring as people want you to think. And when this was new, it made the rounds on the AniTube community, just going, oh, this inspired me to go traveling, this inspired me to do things, this was such a great anime of the year already, and all that stuff. I mean, Giga took time off after watching this anime in order to go traveling the world because he got inspired. So I went into this anime thinking, well, it sounds like it's gotta be really good, and I went in with high expectations. And it's not like I got disappointed, but I think it definitely got overhyped. Also, before we go any further, spoiler warning! If you haven't seen A Place Further Than the Universe yet, you may turn off this video and go watch that and then come back here. Or if you don't care about spoilers, by all means, feel free to stay. Now, my main issue with the series is that it's not as inspiring as people will want you to believe. And that has mostly to do with how the girls in the series get to go to Antarctica. Now, for those of you who just need a reminder, this anime is mostly about the character Shirase who wants to go to Antarctica, and by chance, the character Mari, who is basically the main character of the series. Well, I say main character, all the four girls of the series are kind of main characters, but you know, let's details. Anyway, Shirase and Mari want to go to Antarctica. They get this girl called Hinata to also come along, although it's mostly Hinata wanted to go along. They accept it, and eventually a celebrity called Yusuki also comes along with them. So there are four girls all going to Antarctica. But this is all because Shirase wanted to go to Antarctica in the first place, because her mother was an Antarctic explorer and she wants to go there and get closure, I suspect. It's like, it eventually gets clear that she's not really sure why she wanted to go to Antarctica. Her mother had talked so much about it, and her mother died there, and she's worked hard to get there, but at the end of the series she just kind of goes, I'm not sure why I wanted to go here anymore, which is like, it's such a weird thing to put in there. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I went to college for 3 years, and after college I just kind of went, why did I go to college? You know, everyone can have those experiences. You make a choice, you do something, you go somewhere, and then you kind of wonder afterwards, why did I want to do this anyway? Anyway, that's not the point. I am the master of digression. The point is, they all want to go to Antarctica. Shirase especially. Shirase has worked hard basically her entire life after her mother died and has saved up 1,000,000 yen, or about 10,000 US dollars. But you know, it sounds like a lot more when you say 1,000,000 yen. She's done this so she can potentially sponsor the civilian expedition that's going, get to travel, and get all sorts of stuff done with this 1,000,000 yen. Mari and Hinata also work hard in order to get to travel to Australia, where they will board a ship and then go further on to Antarctica. All the girls worked really hard for this. And I get that that's inspiring, but here is where the story makes a crucial mistake. The girls are not rewarded for their hard work. Now I can basically hear what you're saying, but AnimeMixer, they eventually do get to Antarctica, they do get rewarded for their hard work. No! They are rewarded with luck. Remember Yusuki, the celebrity I talked about? Yeah, she somehow gets wind of this plan of Shirase and all the others to go to Antarctica, and she's planned to go to Antarctica to film and be like a celebrity reporter and all that stuff, but she doesn't want to, so she wants them to go in her place, but her manager, who is also her mother, finds out about her trying this and kind of gets her off it. But since the mother doesn't want Yusuki to be rebellious and all that on the travel, she just kind of goes, you know what, you other girls, if you can talk her into actually willingly going, you can come along with her. And through the magic of friendship, they eventually all go to Antarctica. Because Yusuki considers them her first friends and says, you know what, I'll go to Antarctica, but only if these three others come along. So all that hard work they put in the beginning, meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. The only thing it did was get word out that, oh, there's a rumor that there's some girl that wants to really go to Antarctica, and Yusuke acted on that. And honestly, that could have happened without all the hard work gone into it. If it was just like, there's this girl that really wants to go to Antarctica, she really wants to go. Doesn't matter if she worked hard or not, the rumor gets out, Yusuke finds out, she goes there, asks, hey, can you go? Oh, they're in my place, and everything happens in the same sequence, essentially. minus the hard work in the beginning. Even $1 million, no, not $1 million, million yen. Even the million yen that Shirase saves up over many years eventually is just made pointless. It's never used, it's almost used at one point, which would have been nice, but nope, it ends up like, oh no, we didn't need to use the million yen anyway, and it gets left in Antarctica in some sort of underground storage cold place where it's just gonna be a treasure for all eternity, apparently. The million yen basically never has any practical purpose, it's symbolic. It's symbolic of the hard work, which, as I've explained, eventually just is pointless. This series of events is like if Gigguk, that I mentioned earlier, was going on these travels, but he wanted someone to come with him to film him or something, maybe for his channel, and then he went, you know what, I've heard of this Anime Mixer guy, and I've heard he wants to travel to some places, I'll ask him to go with me. Now, if I had really worked hard and saved up and really wanted to go on a travel, but somehow never had the opportunity, would I consider this to be deserved? Yes. And in the case of all these other girls, it's almost deserved that they do get to Antarctica, but it's the way it happens that's just too unrealistic. And it's all a bunch of luck. If Gigguk one time just suddenly asked me to come on a trip to help him with something because he heard I could help him and I just wanted to travel anyway, then you know what? It'd be lucky. I wouldn't consider that the fruits of my hard work. I'd consider it deserving to get to go, but really lucky. All my hard work earlier, useless in terms of getting to go on that journey. So that's my first issue with the story. It's not inspiring, it's all a bunch of, oh, we worked hard for this, but in the end we had to get lucky because the hard work didn't work out. I was genuinely curious how they were going to get to Antarctica when their first plan to just basically bribe the crew didn't work out. Turned out, million yen, here, have $1 million, let us come with you. And it didn't work, and I went, oh, but what's gonna happen now? But by the power of celebrity friendship, they got to go anyway. And didn't even need to use the $1 million. They almost used it once, like I said. They almost needed to use it in order to change plane tickets, but that also got just kind of swiftly dealt with. By the way, the whole episode with the passport that's been missing, I know that teenagers, I've been one myself, can be stupid and forgetful. But potentially with the exception of Mari, all of these girls are fairly responsible people. Shirase, especially who was watching the passport for Hinata, just why did she forget that she was holding on to the passport? But Hinata also, why did you keep it hidden? Were you going to keep it hidden until you were about to board the plane and like, guys, I don't have my passport with me? If Yuzuki hadn't just noticed, something's up with Hinata. Hinata, is something wrong? Oh, no, nothing's wrong. Hinata, okay, I lost my passport. Like, if that never happened, they would have gone to the airport, Hinata would have admitted, oh, I don't have the passport, and she would have been left behind. If Hinata had just said, when she discovered it the first time, which was early on, like, oh, I can't find my passport. Everybody help me find my passport. And they focus on that first and foremost. You know what? They would have had time to deal with all sorts of shit. But nope, we need to fill an episode with how to deal with a missing passport. Let's write a script on that. That was a waste of an episode. It didn't do any discernible service to the characters in terms of character building and growth and anything. Nope, it's just, nope, here we have an episode about a missing passport. So these things annoy me about A Place Further in the Universe, but I'm not done yet. Because so far I've talked about why it's not as inspiring as it should be and the wasteful episode about the passport, but then there's the travel itself. Yeah, that's right, we haven't gotten to the travel yet. And before I go into this, let me say two things. One, I'm from the northernmost part of Norway. I know what cold is. So even though they're in Antarctica, which is the other side of the world, I know what cold is. And that's important to remember when I say what I'm about to say. Number two, I have worked as a sailor on a ship in hard weather conditions. And there is a bunch of stuff that just makes me go, no, that's not how it works. Now let's just start on what happens on the journey itself on the ship. First of all, have a look at this scene.
でも楽しいよねこういうの単純作業好きだもんな決まりうわ
Did you notice something? It went from flat to and everybody falling over basically in like no time whatsoever. And that's not how ships work. That's not how sea travel works at all. Like, you saw how they showed it on the outside right after showing the air tilt. It was actually kind of wavy. And that means that the boat wouldn't have been going still. It would actually have been going like this for quite some time. They wouldn't suddenly be going, oh, we're suddenly sideways and losing balance. That was too inaccurate for me to ignore. Now I get that I can't animate every single up and down on the waves all the time, because that's just gonna take time and energy and resources and money and all that stuff to do the animation. And so I understand that they don't actually animate the motion of flowing up and down and sideways and all of that is, and it seems steady. But you can't animate steady tilt. And let's then talk about them being seasick. Now, we all agree that they're stupid for taking their seasick pills before necessary. Like, I found myself annoyed at them for being that stupid, but I can understand. They've never been at sea, they just took seasick pills in order to prevent being seasick to begin with, but then the effect went over and they got seasick anyway, and, you know, that stuff, it can happen. I understand it. My main issue with it is all their crewmates, who are very experienced with being out at rough seas, are a bunch of douchebags. Why do I say this? Because they have no genuine, proper hints or tips or anything for how to deal with seasickness. They get the advice that you need to get something to eat and drink even if you are feeling sick, and that's true. You can't go around not eating and drinking because you fear it'll all come up again. Sometimes it will come up again. I've been seasick. I know how it works. It sucks. But you gotta try to eat something. But other than you gotta try to do the normal living things even when you're sick stuff, they don't actually give any advice on how to prevent getting seasick again to begin with. Which is the problem! Nobody's telling them, go out and have fresh air. Even though we see them get fresh air at some point, but it doesn't seem like, I can't remember anyone at any point telling them, go out and have fresh air. A common thing to do would be to just, even if you're in bad weather, you just go to a door and you open it to the outside, and then you just stand there and go, take deep breaths. The fresh sea air is actually good for you. It does help. Another thing they never touch on is that you can actually go low down in the ship where there's less motion. And less motion means that the brain is less confused over the difference between everything around you being stationary, but somehow you're still moving. That's what gets you seasick to begin with, is the brain being confused. But I seem to be in a very stationary area, but I still feel movement. I am confused. So being low down, little movement, that works. But you know what? Nobody gives them that advice. There are even some tips you can get on exactly what you should eat. For instance, there are some people who will say, me included, that eating something salty is good for you. This is just a personal thing for me, but if I am starting to feel car sick or seasick, which I'm not prone to at this point, I've grown out of it like long ago, but if I'm feeling a little bit sick to begin with, it might happen, and in that case, I just have a box of Pringles with me, and I take one chip after another, just slowly chewing, and for some reason, eating a little bit of a salty chip once in a while, it just seems to help me. I don't know if it's some sort of placebo effect, but you know what, it works for me. And you know what, every time someone gets seasick in a scenario where there's a bunch of experienced sailors and stuff around, you know what, they will come and give you all of their experience tips. They'll tell you, oh, this might work, this might work, this might work, this might work, and nobody gives them any tips whatsoever. They just walk around being sick until they get used to it. And of course, you need to get used to it, but it does help to have a little help on the way, getting hints and tips on how to deal with it until you get used to it. And finally, the last thing that really annoys me with this series, have you seen what they're wearing? Like, kudos to them for having the hoods that cover their faces fully when they're in Antarctica, because getting cold in your face sucks in cold weather. However, their jackets don't really look very thick and fluffy and warm and stuff. Like, it looks like some sort of thin summer uniform almost. And I promise you, even though it's winter down in Antarctica, they're still dealing with sub-zero temperatures on a regular basis. They're outside working for hours at a time. This is not enough clothing. They will get really cold. Just in general, way too often it seems like they're just not experiencing any cold whatsoever. And there are some scenes that I take particular issue with. For one, there's a scene where they get the water, not wearing gloves. Now, I'm kind of assuming that they will get some water on their hands, because they're kind of dipping the can down there to get the water. There will be very cold Antarctic fresh water on their hands, and they will be going, oh, cold, 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 cold. Never happens. When you get water from a pond that's surrounded by snow and ice on all sides, and it's usually in sub-zero temperatures, that water is gonna be cold. You're not touching that going, lukewarm. You're touching it going, cold. But apparently these girls are impervious to cold water. But my absolute biggest problem when it comes to any situation like this is the scene where they all basically stumble out into a cold storm on the ship, and they all grab onto the cold metal railings on the ship and hold on to them with their bare hands. They are probably freezing, and they're going, oh, look how beautiful and how fun and how everything and whoa, and nobody's thinking about these hands need to get amputated now because they're holding on to freezing metal with no gloves or anything. In fact, nobody seems to give a damn about any of the metal around them being remotely cold in any way, shape or form. Calm down. So to summarize, is A Place Further Than the Universe good? Yes. Does it have some very annoying moments? Yes. Is it as inspiring as some people would want you to believe? Absolutely not, unless you absolutely turn off your realism filter. I think my glasses have built-in realism filter, so I watch anime with these and I go, that's not realistic. It turns off that function in fantasy settings, but in settings that are supposed to be the real world, it kinda goes into, that's not right mode. In A Place Further Than the Universe, the characters don't get to Antarctica through their hard work, but through luck. The series spends an episode about a missing passport, and then that goes nowhere and means nothing in the end. The million yen has no practical purpose and in the end is only symbolic. The experienced crew members on the ship are assholes for not coming with genuine tips and hints on how to deal with seasickness. And the characters just seem to be impervious to any sort of cold. Even in summertime in Antarctica, if you were out for hours and hours at a time wearing what they're wearing, I promise you, you would be complaining about the cold a lot more than they are. Cold, Zen. I am cold. And those are the main reasons why A Place Further Than the Universe is not as good or as inspiring as you might think. It's still good, but it has many flaws that I think too many people are ignoring. And to me, it's not on the short list of anime that deserve Anime of the Year. But you're free to have your own thoughts on it, and if you have your own thoughts on it, feel free to leave those in a comment below. But that's it for this video, I'll see you in another one, and until then remember, I have been Anime Mixer 1, and I approve of this video.